Hello, and welcome to the Sovereign Collective podcast, where we bring you real, raw truth for your self-empowerment. I'm your host, Sasha Calavoda, and I believe that you can stand on your own 2 feet, but that you don't have to do it alone. I love learning from people who continually strive to raise the bar, to go against mainstream thinking, and who dare to question the general consensus. People who risk being ridiculed or even risk the loss of their professional status as they bravely question the common narratives and challenge the rest of us to expand our minds and to reconsider what we think we already know. Join me in learning how to take control of your health and your mind so that you can have the energy to think more clearly and the confidence to step up and take responsibility for all aspects of your life. We promise to never censor here because I believe you are strong enough to hear the real, raw truth to make up your own mind. If you like what you find here at the Sovereign Collective podcast, then please share with your friends and family. I so appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. And now, on to the show. Hi, y'all. This is Sasha here for 2 quick announcements before we get on to our interview for today. First of all, if you are looking for quality supplements, quality tonic herbs, some specialty food items, and you're in and around Calgary, then please go check out Lotus Herbal Health, a great family-run store that has 2 locations in Calgary. You can find them at lotusherbalhealth.ca to find out where their locations are, or you can shop online and they will pretty much deliver anywhere. So quality supplements, tonic herbs, great staff. Check out lotusherbalhealth.ca. Secondly, I want to announce the relaunch of my program called Your Conscious Pregnancy and Parenting Guide, which consists of experts in their fields around the world on consciousness and parenting and education and nutrition and dentistry and homeopathy and more. This is a program I created after my son was born about 10 years ago, a little bit more than that. And I am now very concerned after the events of 2020 for our future generations. And I believe the time is now for conscious parenting and for conscious parents to rise up and to take back our pregnancies and our births and our parenting and the resilience of our children and of future generations. The time is now. We change the course of history by changing the course of our future generations. And we do that by consciously raising them, consciously birthing them, consciously conceiving them, feeding them good food, and taking back the responsibility of raising healthy, well-adjusted, robust people. Resilience. It's time to build resilience. So please go check out sovereigncollective.org/get the guide, and you will be able to check out all of the amazing material in there. It's time for us to understand how our worldviews are formed, how our self-views are formed, and how to impact that and how that impacts the society on a whole. So check it out, sovereigncollective.org/get the guide. And now on to the show. Hello, everyone. It's Sasha here for another interview for the Sovereign Collective podcast. And today I am here with my beautiful and wise friend, Katharina Kunz of Personal Evolution. She is a woman on her path, and I really think just really starting to get into create the impact that you're going to create. I really think. I've known Katharina for quite a while. I'm at her beautiful home in Kelowna, BC right now. And she has definitely just stepped up her game. And she's really stepping into, I have to steal Kelly Brogan's terms, owning yourself and really owning yourself and knowing yourself and being unapologetic about that. And people that I always love that about people, that energy of not caring what the other person thinks and just going down your path. So Katharina, she's a fitness trainer. She's been a fitness trainer for 25 years. She's a comprehensive health coach. So we're going to find out what that means exactly. She does Thai massage therapy, and she also does workshops and retreats for women. She's been a speaker on summits. She's done numerous retreats. She just continues to share her wisdom and to go and really impact, I would say, mostly women, right? You train men as well, but you really focus on women. And she has now just recently launched her Body Freedom program, which I think is going to be seriously powerful and something that you might want to get to know about. And we're going to talk about that today because body freedom, how many women out there actually have it? How many women obsess about their bodies constantly, hate their bodies, whatever. So we're going to get into that and about how that can impact you and really maybe bring you more broad freedom in your life when you actually achieve body freedom, because you leave so much, you create so much space, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So you create so much space. So anyway, so thank you, Katharina, for being here today. I am super stoked to just I don't know.
Well, it's
Learn
so
about new stuff.
exciting. So thank you for this opportunity and to be able to play with you in this way, because we both have so much similarity in our passion for health and supporting other people in their journeys as well. So I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. So before we find out about what Katharina is doing now and how she can help us, I want to talk about why do you care about body freedom? How did you get, like, you've been on this path for a long time.
I have.
So how did that start out, and what are the paths that brought you to where you are today?
Yeah. Well, right now where I am in my body, sometimes you don't realize until you've kind of gone to till you've arrived somewhere else, that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that was how I was feeling in my body, that was how I was accessing the world through this limited perspective of myself. Right. And so as a child, I was always very active. I always I was pretty free as a child. And I often call upon my inner child to help me today, because she was so free in who she was until that sort of indoctrination and the need to be accepted and all that kind of stuff. Not to say there wasn't any of that, but so when I decided to go into fitness, I did so from the perspective of like, this is what I love to do. I love moving in my body. But I also, at the time, personal training was very glamorous, and it was for the stars. And it's like, okay, I'm taking this fitness leadership, but I don't really know what that's going to look like. And as I started an opportunity arose for me to work at one of the first personal training studios in Calgary. And I loved it. Like, I had already been working, just doing programs at the World Health. And even though that wasn't a well-paid job, I enjoyed the experience of helping people to just get more fit in their bodies, and recognizing that, some personal trainers would say, well, if you're not going to do exactly what I say, and you're not going to, turn into this like svelte human being, I'm not going to train you anymore because you're going to give me a bad name. Right. And really, it's not about me. It's about through this space of vulnerability. And I think that's why I had such longevity with my clients. And my mentor would often say, like, I have never seen a trainer with so much, that I'd have clients for 15, 20 years until I moved out here, because it's about sharing in the whole journey. It's not just about I'm going to put you through a great workout. Like, there's 168 hours in a week. So if you are only with me for 2 or 3 hours in a week, how are you sleeping? How are you eating? How are you moving in those other 165 hours? Right. So giving that perspective, but also sharing through that vulnerability and the truth of what I've come through. So coming back to that question that you asked, is that when I was younger, I was always kind of, when I was younger, I wasn't overweight. I didn't have a weight problem. I never thought about my weight until I became a teenager and I started to dive into fitness. I got my first gym membership when I was 16. And I started to feel like how I could morph my body. I could change my body. I could sculpt my body. But then it started to come into a bit of an obsession. And I started to become hyper-focused. I started to be like, rigid in how I was eating. I was thinking about my next meal all the time. I was like, how could I get rid of this little bit here? Just all, that obsessiveness. And as a child, because I didn't have a weight issue as a child, my pattern though, whenever I was feeling uncomfortable emotionally, I would just go from fridge to cupboard to freezer, fridge, cupboard, freezer, and just shove it down until I was so full that sensation was more familiar, more comfortable, that I took away from that underlying vibrational, I don't know what to do with emotions thing. So it wasn't until, like, as a personal trainer and helping other clients, get more fit in their body, I started to explore more of the other pieces. As I went through my own dis-ease, when I was in my late 20s, even though I was doing all the right things, I was eating well and I was exercising, but I was experiencing anxiety. I was constipated. I felt brain fog. I felt just not myself. And it's because that pressure I was putting myself under of how I needed to appear and what I needed to do in order to appear that way, in the way that I thought that had to look. And so it started to manifest itself physically in my body that way. So that was when I started my inner journey. And that's when I started to explore other pieces. And that's when I created my flow meditation CD, which is really about only experiencing the gratitude and acceptance of what's in my body, and just going through and touching all those parts, my eyes, my ears, my nose, and my organs, but also like my whole body, touching to express that gratitude, to experience the gratitude, and not like, oh, I'm grateful for this. I just wish that I didn't do this or didn't have this. Or
right. It's very conditional love,
right?
Yes.
And all of a sudden things started to shift and change. And so as I learned how to emotionally heal and feel, then I really got those other pieces and how that was important. And then started to explore. And for myself is when I started to let go of like having to put that hour in the gym every day. And that's when, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago is when I started to do my 20-minute workouts. Right. So I would have this, more intense workout in a shorter period of time, and I got way better results. But we're also cyclical as women. For those women of you that are watching, we're also cyclical. And I'm going to be talking about this today, because if you do the same thing all the time, eat the same way, move the same way, you're actually going against your natural rhythm. And you might find that you're just not getting the results that you want.
And that's a big thing. So let's get into that. So, because I am a really big fan of eating seasonally, looking at the seasonal nature of the world around us, like not expecting food from New Zealand in the middle of winter in Alberta, when, what did we just recently harvest, or what are the fruits available right now in the summertime? We have an abundance right now. Like there's so many things. So looking at that, looking at the light and dark cycles, looking at the cycle, and I think more for women as well, adjusting for the cycles of the month. It doesn't matter what stage of life you're in, we have a cyclical nature. So all this stuff. So now your body freedom program, I think that's one of the elements that you talked about, right?
Yes.
So
I'll be getting into that for sure.
Okay. So where should we go with this? Do we want to talk about the freedom, your program, and then go into the cyclical nature?
Because they're kind of tied in. Yeah.
So why did you create this program? First of all, so you have this body freedom program.
Yeah.
And what was the driving force behind that?
Well, I moved to Kelowna. I left my clients. I left my business that I had built up, and I moved to Kelowna to be here with my stepdaughter, and I'm now her full-time stepmom, as her mother was navigating a transition from her cancer, and she did pass. So coming here and rebuilding and restarting, it was actually the perfect incubator for me to finally birth that which I've always wanted to create, which is an online program and to support women. And why women? I have been doing workshops and retreats specifically for women for the last 5 years with my partner Jennifer Steed. We do these deep ecology of the deep ecology of the feminine retreats, and every year we host it somewhere different. And it's a great way to just dive deeper into the ecology, that our own inner ecology and the feminine ecology, tying that into nature, because we are divorcing ourselves from nature, which is a big part of the problem right now.
Huge.
Yeah. And so I spent the last year creating this program specifically for women. And my challenge, and why I hadn't done it to this point, was like, how do I create something for the member to dive into, to be a part of, but also not just go through this mimicking motion, just following something. It's like this invitation to dive in and explore a new way of being in your bodies. And so when I created the Body Freedom Program, the no excuse workout is sort of the foundational movement aspect of it. And it is strength training based. And I use exercise tubing, which has the handles, not the ones that are the flat. I should have brought one out here. But the exercise tubing, because it's progressive resistance, meaning that from the attachment point, whether that's your body, if you're standing on the tubing, or if you have it attached to a door or a pole, that progressive resistance is going to continue to get stronger, rather than like lifting a free weight, which you're working against gravity. So you're having to move all these heavy things, but also the way that gravity falls against you. Like if I'm doing a bicep curl, there's a point when it's harder and there's a point where it's easier. Whereas that progressive resistance allows for all ranges of motion. You can go from low to high, high to low, transverse, all the different planes of motion. It really mimics true motion. And then you can pick the size of the tubing that will also help you to progress, so that you can go from lighter to heavier. You could add a couple of them together. And as cyclical beings, there is a time in your cycle where you want to push a little bit more, you want to exert a little bit more, and there's a time when you're going to want to step back a little bit. And so the tubing allows for that for you, because you can stand further away, step closer in, harder tubing, easier tubing. And so that kind of was the foundational piece. And I give all this posture and alignment education, so that you know how to hold.
It makes me sit up straight.
Right? Yeah. So that you know how to hold your body when you're moving, so that you're not just like, when's lunch? And you're not just like mimicking movement. If I'm doing a row, I'm not just pulling the tubing towards me. I'm learning how to isolate the back muscle, become the back muscle. So when I close my eyes and even just think about it, I automatically put myself in the position it needs to be in, because now it's engaged. Now I can feel it engaged. And so when I'm moving in that space, I'm going to get tenfold results, rather than just kind of using whatever to just move it. Right. And then also preventing injury and strengthening your muscle around proper posture. Because if you're not doing all of that and you're exercising, you're further reinforcing your muscle strength around that improper posture.
Yeah, and there's and posture these days. People, we need to stand up straight. You look at days of old and you see people, you barely ever saw anybody hunched over, but now you see these young kids with their heads way out in front of their shoulders, and the posture is unbelievable. And I think coming back to that comment that you made around the cyclical, it's time to change your activity depending on the monthly cycle. I think women should take that across the board, right? Like they tend to do that and push. The way you eat, the way you take care of other people, not caring for yourself, not that self-care. And I think this is a beautiful way for women to bring in that self-care, because if we take care of ourselves, we're so much stronger for the community around us, whether that be our families or some kind of broader community. But when we suffer, everyone suffers.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's a really important thing. Like my husband knows, happy, whatever they say, happy wife, happy life kind of thing, or whatever, happy mommy, whatever he says, he says something. Yeah. But I think we really need to take that to heart, because we think we have this badge of honor that we push through, right? We push through, we get it done. We volunteer at school, we work the job, we make the dinner, and it's like, and then you work out on top of it, and you think you're not, and you wonder why you're not getting the results that you expect to be getting.
And to be honest, this is like just triggering. The reason why I wanted to also focus on women is that I have seen so many women come through the gym door that have such a hard time with the diet deprivation. And it's like, work out more, eat less, work out more. And they're working out twice a day sometimes.
Oh,
right.
Wow.
Yeah. And then they're like, I'm only eating 1,200 calories and I can't figure out why my weight won't budge. And it's like, oh my God. Right.
Poor body.
Right.
And Katharina works at 3 times a week for like 20 minutes. And let me tell you, it works. It works totally. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. I came from, working at the gym 5 days a week, at least an hour and a half at a time. And who wants to do that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Exactly. And I took you and Jade through,
basically, we did a workout the other day. Another friend was here. She just left and we did a great little workout done. And I've done that last year. I did that as well too. Yeah. And they're effective.
Yeah.
So if you don't have time, or you think you don't have time, that might not actually be true. It might be just a story that you're telling yourself. And what other stories are you telling yourself?
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All the stories. And that's why this is the no excuse workout. The no excuse workout unleashed. That what are the excuses? I don't have the money. I don't have the time, and I don't have anywhere to do it. Right. Well, this is the no excuse. Right. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be daunting. It doesn't have to be. We have to remember that we have this indoctrinated idea of what we're supposed to look like in our bodies and what we're supposed to do to be like in the superwoman. We pride ourselves in this like badge of honor of like, I can do it all.
We do.
Right.
Yeah, we do. And it's, and the thing is who's suffering? Our families, our kids, the next generation. They don't have this. And in an age where it's all about transgenderism and, removing the masculinity from the male and and adding more masculine traits to the female, we need those roles. We need the nurturer, the provider, the security. We need all of that. And our kids are suffering from the lack of that and this is so politically not correct, and I don't care. I really don't care. But it's not what our children need. And if you've listened to my podcast before and know what I do, I also have a program on conscious pregnancy and parenting, and our future generations are at risk. And the health of the home environment is such an important part of that. And I think the women taking care of themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
That is such a key part of that.
Yeah.
Right. And we don't think it's good. We're not good enough if we're doing all these different things. And that's just a story we've been sold and we bought.
Right. Exactly. So true. And I love that you're sharing this message, Sasha, because you are such a fierce woman. And I love watching the way that you, with your knowledge base too, but the way that you just bring this out, and it's an invitation, and it's beautiful. So thank you for being that force in this world.
Thank you. So let's talk about, why is your program unique? There's a lot of programs out there.
There are a lot of programs.
What's different about your approach?
Well, so I made this program, first of all, very affordable. And this is an introductory offer.
And it's a monthly online.
It's a monthly online. And each new member gets a 40-minute onboarding session one-on-one with me, so that I can get to know what's going on for you. What are your challenges? What is your lifestyle? And get you started on the right foot, and go through the entire program with you. And they say, this is specifically where I want you to start. And then we have monthly check-ins. I have body temple webinars every month to give you all those other pieces, as well as not just the movement. I have a nutritional roadmap so that you can learn how to put together your healthy meals without diet and deprivation, without counting calories. And so I go through that with you. And so that you have your own daily log that you can just, as you're getting started, to figure out, okay, well, how do I know when I'm supposed to eat my carbohydrates? How do I know, and your body's going to be different. And so the other piece is this metabolic mayhem that is going on underneath, often that is sabotaging our ability to get the results. So a lot of women, it's like their weight won't budge. They're eating like birds and they're inflamed. And why? Right? So what is that thing going on underneath? How are we going to, get to the source, rather than just constant band-aids and taking pills that are going, that just hide the symptom for a little while, but we're still struggling. Right. And that sleep is so important. And that's one of the things I don't think people realize is there's so much pride in all these quotes out there. And there's, you're not tired. You're there was one quote that I read something about, it's our souls that are tired, and, but basically trying to talk about how we need to, just live more, right? And that's a good message. We do need to live more, but we also need to sleep well. Right? It's important. It's an important piece of it. So the no excuse workout is going to work with your cyclical nature. Now, if you're not menstruating, you are still a cyclical woman. You're still a cyclical being, right? And so what that means is that moving a little bit more with the moon cycle. And when we step into that cyclical way of being, what does that look like? So we have that first follicular phase, and that's going to be you just finished your cycle. And if you haven't just finished your menstruation, then that's kind of more right after the full moon, right? So just starting to feel a little more energized, step into those things that you love to do, and get moving, right? But then that part around your ovulation or around the new moon is where you can really do those HIIT workouts. But if you do your HIIT workout right before you're going to get your period, you're actually going to work against your body, and you're not going to get the benefits as well, right? Same with the way that you eat. There's a time in your cycle when our bodies actually burn 250 more calories a day. And I know we're not talking about calories, but it's the fact that our body actually does different things. Our brain chemistry is different. Our cortisol levels are different, right? We have the circadian rhythm, which is a daily cycle, your sleep and wake cycles, the moon and sun cycles, right? And that is important for your cortisol. That's important to have regulated as well. And that's where you're going to get outside first thing, get the sun in your eyes, get your feet on the ground, get that melatonin working for you at nighttime. But that infradian rhythm, we as women have been so we get lumped into just being human beings, and we are not the same as men. And so when we can start working,
That's an important message.
Yeah.
Like, we are not the same as men, and that affects us and impacts us. And we're trying to pretend that we're all the same.
yes,
We're not.
right.
We're not the same.
We're not the same.
Yeah.
So when we can start to explore these new ways, and that's another invitation, is this curiosity and wonderment of our bodies. I think we've lost that. It's just like constant trying to discipline ourselves into shape. And discipline is important, but what I like to focus on is more of the devotion, out of devotion to yourself. What are you willing to engage? How, if you're devoted to, and let's say your top priorities or your values is family and health, but you're working 20 hours a day, and you're stopping for your latte in the afternoon because you just can't get through the day. So how do we match more of those values with the priorities? And through that devotion is like, as women, how do you really want to feel in your body? Let's get reconnected to that feeling, which is the feminine, and then start acting in a way that will allow you to feel that way. So that action isn't about, I want to lose weight. I just want to lose weight, because if I lose weight, then I'll be happier. But that's not how it works in our brain. It's like, how do you really want to feel? Connect to that feeling, and you'll know when you're feeling it, right? And that feeling really has nothing to do with your weight. Yes, as if you are really overweight and you're going to have less pain in your body and you're going to have better mobility, of course you're going to feel better. But we're taking it from the wrong approach. So coming back more to that curiosity, wonderment, and exploring this new way. And at the end of all of my workouts, I take everyone through a visualization, which I like to call kind of like because meditation is something that everyone is familiar with. So I use that word, but it's a reperspectiving. Because if we continue to experience life through the very lens that we've always been looking at it, it's going to be hard to make those changes last. So it's a 3 to 5 minute reperspective where I take you through this connection back to who you really are and what you really are, and connection with that nature, and really thinking about how do you want to express that energy into this day. But first of all, harnessing the energy, because you just worked out. Right? This is you rebuilding your batteries, you plugging in your batteries. And I know that I always did. I looked at exercise as something that I should do, something that is good for me because it's going to be healthy, but I didn't see it as plugging in and co-creating energy in my body. So in the end of that workout, in that reperspectiving, how do I want to express this energy into this day? How do I want to harness it for my life first? So start with you. How do you want to harness it for your own purpose and passions, and of course, your own longevity and well-being? And then like all the people that you see every day that you love, those that you love that you don't see, that, don't live here. And also the people that you're going to walk by on the street or at the grocery store or wherever you are. So when you think of it as like, this is energy that I'm harnessing and spending, then we're going to be more thoughtful. Like, I just worked for this. Right? So how do I want to align it? And then, so these are, shorter movement activities with that repurposing. And it's not like you have to do that every day, but maybe you're doing stretch on the other days that you're not working out, right? So giving these stretch sequences for all different, like maybe you have a hip opener or shoulder opener, all these movements that are going to get you into your body so you can breathe into your body. Doing the perspectiving once a day for 5 minutes. These are all doable things. Mm-hmm. And then I have these body temple sessions that again are these educationals. They're, you can come on to the call, learn about what's going on, ask questions, and then that'll be archived in the member site. I'm bringing in guest speakers. So Sasha is going to be one of my guest speakers coming in to share her expertise, because it's not that I know everything. I want to share all of the wisdom that's out there, right? And bring it more into a holistic experience, right? And maybe that, there's the nutrition and the exercise, but there's also the ways that we're thinking and feeling. There might be something, some of those pieces that are really going to speak to you specifically, because we are all unique and we're all in our own personal evolution. So this is designed to meet you where you are and evolve as you do. So it's not that you're broken and that we need to fix you. It's that everything that you've done up until this point has taught you something, has brought you to an awareness. And whether you're happy with it or not is another story. But the realization is that now we can do something with it. That is your fertilizer for life. And let's use it rather than beat ourselves up even more. Let's move forward in a way that's more in that curiosity, wonderment, and realigning. So I created this membership for women who are really ready to explore a new way of being in their bodies and want to finally feel at home in their bodies.
Right. So let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about the obsession that women can have with their bodies, the hate that they have for their bodies, the constant, it's like that's that thing that body freedom creates that space. So what have you found with women and their bodies? And like, let's speak to that. Like, you're saying when we were talking, before we were recording, you're saying, I don't think, like, we aren't meant to be thinking about our bodies all the time, right?
Yes.
And like that obsession
Right.
we have. So let's unpack that a little bit.
Totally.
So what have you, and do you come across that a lot?
I do come across it all the time. And in fact, when I tell people that, like, they ask me what I do for a living, and I used to, I'm a personal trainer and I'm a comprehensive health coach and, these things. And it's like, okay, well, I know what that means. But what I actually do is I help women to feel at home in their bodies. And they just kind of go, oh,
Yeah.
right. Just kind of like, I want to feel that.
Right.
Right. And like my own story, right? And that's the thing, is that body shame, and whatever we want to call it, right? You might still, like, I don't have body shame now, but I still have those things, those tics that are like, oh, I got something going. Oh, I'm feeling this, or I should be feeling that. Oh, I got some wrinkles. Oh, I got, and it's okay but that's not going to run my life. It's not going to ruin my day. And I'm not going to step on a scale every single morning and have this number dictate whether I'm going to have a good day or a bad day. Right. Which is why I created the alignment skill workshop, for stepping into that how you want to feel and what you need to do in order to feel that way. Right. Stepping into that mantra of what you want to experience, not this number. Like, who cares about the stupid number? Right. But we do as women, because we've been told that we need to look this way. We need to fit into this idea, and we need to be these like beautiful sex goddesses that all the men are going to fall in love with, right?
And it's how we value ourselves and what we attach our value to. And you get to see it with all the facial reconstruction going on, and the injections, and the propping up, and it's gotten insane. Like, I really don't know, especially when you see a younger woman, like somebody in her 20s with these massive lips and this frozen face that doesn't move. And, they're just, their whole identity is attached to their outer image.
Yes.
They don't know who they are.
They don't.
Right. Like it's like they really truly don't. And I think this is why it's July of 2021, and the craziest time the world has ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been so easy. And I bring this up a lot, but it's very clear that people don't know who they are. And when you don't know who you are, you're easily manipulated.
Absolutely.
And it goes in so many areas of our lives, and we buy into this. So I'm really wondering what the 20-year-old today, who is, enhancing all sorts of areas of their body, what they're going to look like and feel like, and what's going to be their mental, emotional state at 50.
Yeah.
When they started, like at 20 years old, I sure as hell did not think about ever like any kind of plastic surgery at all, or anything like that.
Yeah. I hated my nose when I was in junior high, and I said, I'm going to get a nose job. As soon as I'm out of high school, I'm going to get a nose job.
Wow. And
when I was in high school, I hit puberty in grade 8 going into grade 9. And, all of a sudden there was interest from boys. And I was a long-term relationship kind of person in high school. And by the time I got out of high school, thankfully, I was like, people aren't looking at me like I'm some kind of, circus clown, or people aren't looking at me like I've got something, like, got to do something about that.
Well, we both have a good, we have I think a significant nose.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? It would be weird if I didn't. This is part of this is part of who I am. And so what I was going to say about that, that body shame, whatever we call it, right, is that it doesn't discriminate. And so I have a whole program that I've created as well, which I'm going to be launching in the fall, which is it was originally like 9 weeks to sexy, whether I keep with that, because that word sexy can be a bit of a trigger, but at the same time, the reason why I created it is that the physical part of it is the last thing that I talk about, because your being sexy has nothing to do with your physical body. How many times have you seen a woman walk into the room and she may be 50 pounds overweight, but you don't even see that, right? She just like commands attention just because, you know, she is just like, yeah, I'm so juicy, man. I'm just loving life. Oh yeah, look at me, but not look at me, right? But like, it's like this, oh yeah, it's just so in their joy.
I think a woman like that probably doesn't care if they look it, because they don't need that.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It's just this presence. And in fact, it's so rare that that's why there's attention, because it's kind of like, wow, right? It's like, holy, look at that confidence and that, you know, that juicy to me means that just ripe, full of the wonderment and curiosity, and ripe of like really just owning the experience of like, I get to live today and do whatever excites me in this moment, right? And I get to create something. I get to be a part of a community, whatever that might be. And then you might see a woman walk into the room and she might be like a model. She might be like a Sports Illustrated, right? But there's kind of like this,
right?
They're not, you can't engage with it. And you can feel it. It's palpable, right? So body, and people have said, you know, like, well, what do you know about body shame, right? Like I'm in great shape, right? But it doesn't discriminate. And it doesn't mean that I haven't suffered from it. In fact, it consumed my life for a long time. And it showed up as anorexia. I lost my period for a whole year. And then it came back. And then when I was in my 20s, I went on the birth control pill, or I think I went on even when I was younger. I went on my late teens. But after I got my period back, I was on the birth control pill. I went off when I was 27, I think it was. Lost my period for 6 years.
Wow, 6 years.
6 years. It just never came back. I had a lot of emotional stuff going on too, but I messed up my system with all of that, like dieting and over exercising. So it took time to reconnect all of the dots and to really bring my body back into more harmony. And there's just so many layers to it, but we need to be gentle with ourselves on that journey too, and know that there's beautiful gifts to be revealed along the way. And if we can look at them as beautiful gifts and like when we have these aha moments of like, oh my God, I can't believe, like we finally see what we haven't been able to see before. And that might be like, oh my God, I really hated myself. Like, oh my God, I was like so focused on my physical body that was the only value I had in this world, right? When I was in grade 9, that time when I went from that puberty point, I was the same girl that left school in June and went back to school in September. And I kid you not, the male attention that I got when I got back to school was, I did not know what to do with it. I was just like, wow, because I was the same person. I just came back to school, but now I have boobs. Right? So the message that I got was, I'm only valuable for my body. So I became hyper-focused on getting that body and keeping that body. That's really ultimately that underlying, and then trying to live in that perfection, right? I see perfection as an infection. It infects every part of your life, because you can't be present in the moment. Yes. You can't take in what's available right now, because it's like, you know, I can't, you know, take a segue from what I'm so hyper-focused on here, but that's where life is in these moments. Right. And we had this conversation even yesterday, I think, and my friend was taking a photo, and I looked at the photo after. I'm like, not the best picture of me, but I don't care. Right. It's like, post it, do whatever you want with it. I don't care. I do live videos, and then I look at it afterwards, and the lighting was terrible. And it's like, you know, shows every line on my face. It's like, who cares really? Right. You know, because I remember that energy and that vitality and that joy that I bring through my life every day is what matters.
And that just, like, how free is that? How free is that? Like, I know people that they will not post anything unless it goes through all the right facelift filters. Right. And it's like, well, it's not even real. Like what, who cares? It's like, it's false advertising, you know, it's just, but to not care, like, how free is that? Know. And I can't say that I am totally not care. Like, definitely, if I've gained a little bit of weight or something, I feel it all the time and I want that off. but I won't attach my value to it. I won't
Right.
obsess about it. I've never had an eating disorder.
just a
I've never had
barometer for
anything
you,
like
right?
that, but it is like, okay, this is not my comfort zone
Yeah.
for sure. But,
Mhm.
but I do think about it a lot, and it is heavy until it's gone. It's like, oh, it's gone. I don't have to think about it anymore.
Mm.
But yeah, but that being said, what I also wanted to bring out when you were talking about the women coming in might be larger. I think also what we're heading towards is everything is okay. But
Yes.
if you are grossly overweight, which is a serious issue these days,
Mhm.
then you are not a healthy person.
Yes.
Doesn't mean you have to be totally fit and lean and whatever percentage of body fat, but that excess
Yeah.
weight will also signify blood sugar issues, liver issues, potential heart issue, right? So
Yes.
that's really important as well too, to not
It
make
absolutely is.
everybody okay,
Yes.
because we can't offend anybody,
Yeah.
right?
So true.
Mhm.
So true. I'm glad that you brought that up. And it's something that I was speaking about in one of my interviews before. And it's like permission, right? But it's like, it doesn't give you just permission to like, oh, well, so,
This is me.
this is just me. And, yeah, you want to start off from a place of like allowing yourself to be where you are, but with that momentum, with that out of devotion to yourself, like is, carrying this extra 40 pounds and, not really making those significant changes that are going to move the needle in your health, right? You may work out every day, but are you, stopping at McDonald's every day? Are you eating, a bag of Doritos every night? Are you pounding back, pop or, drinking excessive amounts of coffee and alcohol, like all of these things, because often behind all that is that, whatever that addiction is or whatever that, that we're getting from it, right, is what we really need to look at.
And I love that devotion to yourself. That's the thing. Like I work with some clients, but I'm so tired of doing that. But I am potentially going to work with somebody, and she's like, my body is my temple, and I just need somebody to help me stay on track. And that's the attitude. It doesn't mean you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
But this deserves your care and attention and devotion. It's the one body you have in this lifetime.
It is.
Right? Like,
yes.
Why do we mistreat it so much?
Yeah. And I realized when I was younger, when I was obsessed about certain things about my body, it literally took me until I think a few years ago to realize that the things that I was obsessing about is structural. Like I wanted to have this curvy waist. But I'm short-waisted, right? Like I don't have a long torso. My rib and my hip bone are literally this far apart.
Right. So you don't have the right. Yes.
So unless I want to do the share thing and like remove a rib or two.
Yeah. No.
But it's just like, oh my God, like why was I so like I couldn't even see that my own body structure doesn't even allow for that.
Right.
And to just recognize like like whether that's small boobs, whether that's like whatever that is. And just like you were saying about, girls doing things a lot younger. I was at my hairdresser's a couple months ago, and she was saying how she overheard these two girls. They were 16.
Oh no.
And they were talking about they can't wait until they can shave their collarbones. And
what does that mean? What do you mean shave their collarbones?
Something with their collarbone. I know. I don't
Oh no.
And get fillers and all this stuff. And they were 16 years old.
Oh, see, that makes me so sad.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh, and that's the thing, parents and mamas, I think we have to be role models to show that is not what counts.
Yeah.
Like it's what kind of value? Are we following our passions? Are we owning ourselves? Are we living a healthful life? But that makes me really sad.
Yeah.
That age, like that's just the beginning of a roller coaster of unhappiness.
Yeah. And as a mother of a daughter and, being very conscious of the things that she puts value on. And even though I can't, put it, on myself that I'm going to, be able to mold her exactly the way that I think she should, she's going to make choices that she'll learn from.
Yeah.
Right. So I think wherever you are on your journey or what you've experienced or what you've done or what you are currently doing, at the very least, my invitation is to that get curious about why you're choosing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's kind of like, I think about Gabor Mate in Vancouver and how he created these injection sites where where people who have addiction can go and safely inject or drink or whatever it is. Like whatever we're doing because that is helping us to not feel the trauma or the experience of something, right? And we're human beings. We are doing our best. So even if you're going to get Botox and you're getting your boobs filled and you're getting butt lifts and all those kinds of things, at least if you can take one step towards loving yourself, one step towards embracing that there's this magnificence available inside you that wants to be seen for exactly how you are, that there's nothing broken, there's nothing wrong with you. And to step into, I have goosebumps right now. To step into a community of women that also want to support that journey. Right?
That's big. And so that's why your program is such a beautiful place to have that, right? Because that's the thing. What was I listening to the other day? And they were saying, if your community isn't supporting where you want to go, then that's not your community. If you're going against the grain of that community and they're not supporting you and it's not a harmful thing for you, then you need to find your community, because you can't do all these things alone.
Yeah.
Right. And you can't. And if you're in this community that values all this stuff that you're trying to move away from, then it's time to find, and now more than ever, when we're being pushed further and further apart from each other, right? That is one of the biggest things, is finding our people.
Exactly. Right. And that is also like building in the space for that new way of exploring yourself and coming back to our nature, our cyclical nature, coming back to, we've had this conversation before about how in North America, we have lost ritual. We have lost ceremony and sacredness and like rites of passage and all this stuff. And so bringing back more ritual, like maybe it is having, more awareness around the moon cycles, and maybe you're, doing a full moon prayer, or, lighting a candle on the full, like it can just be one little thing, planting, if you don't have a garden, then plant some herbs in a pot, like get back to nature. I think that the biggest challenge that we are having right now with all of this craziness, I don't even want to say the word, is that we are so divorced, as I mentioned, from our nature. And so remembering that we came from a virus. We're surrounded by billions and billions. Like, we are not meant to be afraid of our environment. And again, that's that whole thing about not feeling at home in our bodies. Well, yeah, when our environment, and if you're watching TV all the time, and if you're like plugging in to that source, plug more into your own source and tap in, feel the earth beneath you, lay on her, let her tell you, and you tap into your own wisdom. Like these small little rituals, right? They all have large impact. They move big doors.
And I love that word ritual rather than routine. It can be so boring, but the ritual brings the sacredness back.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And the gratitude and the awareness, like, where's our awareness these days? And we just go about our day. We go in our cars, we go in our buildings, we grab food from the grocery store. We have no idea what's going on out there. It's longer days, shorter days, it's cold, it's hot, it's different kind of foods available. It's, I remember reading this book to my son about, it's called The Education of Little Tree. And it was about, he was half Aboriginal in the US. Can't remember which tribe he was from, but oh my God, what a beautiful, beautiful book. And you just see how the natives, they would watch, they would know what is coming in the nature. They would know when to plant, because they knew there were signs in nature that told them, oh no, this is too early. Whereas, white man over there was trying to do something because it was this date and at this time, not paying attention to anything with the signs around them, and their crops would fail, or, they couldn't make it go. Whereas the natives that knew the land and knew the signs, knew how to communicate and to listen, just knew. They
Yeah.
just did it. And it wasn't because, oh, it's May long weekend, we got to plant, right? Like this is what we do in
Exactly.
Calgary. It's like people just plant because it's May long weekend. It's like there's other factors to take into account.
Yeah, there are.
And so that sacredness, that knowing that connection, because we are of the earth,
Mhm.
we are nature,
Mhm.
right? And we're so
Oh,
we've taken ourselves out of it.
yeah.
So I wanted to ask, so I think I know, but
Yeah.
you call yourself a comprehensive health coach. So can you explain what that means? So
Yeah. So basically integrating some of like, rather than just, I want you to move more and I want you to like, there is the adding in, which is always going to be, just add in more good stuff, right? That's going to be helpful. But that comprehensive health coaching is more looking at that whole, what's all showing up and what is that metabolic mayhem that I was talking about earlier? What is that metabolic mayhem that is showing up that is sabotaging your ability to feel good, think clearly, sleep well, less pain, all that kind of stuff. And I have, I'm a human being. That's the other thing I want to say here. It's not that I have, I'm living this perfect, whatever perfect is.
well,
right?
I think that's part of your evolution.
Yes.
Because you went from that stringent, rigid lifestyle, and now you don't. And you look amazing. You're happy. You're sharing your gifts with the world, and you are a lot more. You just flow.
Yeah.
With whatever's coming, and you're not rigid with what's going into it. But you're very conscious.
Yes.
And you eat very well and everything, but it's not that rigidity, right?
Exactly. And to be in the flow. Originally, I was going to call my business Flow Evolution because that, it's like, oh yeah, that spoke to me. It's like, I just want to be in flow in my life. But, what does that really mean? And really, we are on our own personal evolution. And that I'm, because I was so rigid, I kind of moved over this way a little bit. And then I'm kind of, it's like finding, it's not about the word balance to me feels a little bit like mediocrity. And why I say that is because it's not about having everything in balance. It's sometimes I need to dive more into my business stuff, or I might need to dive more into like looking at my spiritual connection, or I might need to dive into letting go of rigidity, right? So that might mean, okay, I'm going to put Bailey's in my coffee every morning.
Okay.
Because there's some truth to that. That's why I'm laughing. Right. But it's like doing it and going, you know what? I didn't, my life didn't fall apart because I put Bailey's in my coffee. Right. I didn't put on 50 pounds because right.
And that's the thing. And how many people would just punish themselves?
Oh my gosh.
Right. And then they think about it. And that would be like what they've done. I always tell people the next day is always a new day to create a new decision, a new habit. But the same thing is if you've made that decision, then you love it. That punishment is so much more harmful than the choice of having made it in the first place.
That was my poison. Was that punishment, that like, and that constant self-flagellation.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Okay. Well, this is amazing. So how do people find out about you? Where do they find you?
So personalevolution.ca is my website. On there, I also have a free ebook if you want to sign up. And it is the 3 keys to unleashing optimal health, vitality, and body freedom. So that's a great place to start. And then you'll be on my email list and I'll be sending you more information. If you go onto that website and go to membership page, which is www.personalevolution.com/bodyfreedomnow, that will take you to the member site and tell you what's available there. And it's only $39 a month. Like it's
okay, people, seriously. And I saw what's available to you for $39 a month, and that might change.
Yes, it's
right.
Yeah,
that's for the first.
It's my introductory offer, right? I want to get exposure to as many women as I can, get the community rolling and going, and I want that to be an incentive too. Is like, yes, this is something. Like, what is $39 a month? And I know that we all have different levels of financial freedom, right? But what are you willing to let go of that you can step into, maybe you're not buying a coffee every day, right? Whatever that is,
right?
What's it worth to you?
Right. Well, that's massive value. You get a lot for that
amount.
Exactly.
And then within this program, like I said, I am always adding more information, more like body temple sessions and guest speakers. It's updated every couple of weeks. You get an email to let you know what's going on. And again, that onboarding session alone, right? To have, right? To really have somebody with you. I'm here to help you, right? I understand the process of where you might be and just meet you where you are. And then the other, so I'll be having my, the body shame program. I'm going to be launching that in the fall as well. So if you don't have a solid foundation, right, you can eat well and do all these things, right? But if you don't have that solid foundation of that self-love and coming from that and healing and understanding what it really means to heal that, that program may speak to you. And I'll be launching that. And if you sign up for my ebook, that'll be a great way again that I can get a hold of you, or just send me a contact. There's a contact page on my website. Reach out, say, hey, this is what you talked about, and just say Sovereign Collective maybe in the subject line, and I'll send you. How about this? I will send you a link to the alignment scale workshop for free.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. We got a special bonus here. So guys, Susan, I've known Katharina for a long time, and I know her way, and I know her passion and her wisdom. There's so much wisdom here. I think wisdom is lacking in our society today. We've got all these old people with no wisdom. We need to bring back wisdom. So if this speaks to you in any way, please reach out. I know her program can help you so much. And because she knows, she's been through it, right? She's been through it. She knows how you're feeling if you're not loving it in your body, if you're punishing yourself, or she also just has the mechanics to help you just get on track, to help you, with your eating and your movement and everything else. And also that the other part, even like there's that spirit connection to your feminine nature, right? Like that's a really important thing. And we're not, I don't know, we need to recultivate that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Living in this masculine world.
Yeah.
Masculine women.
That is demasculating men at the same time.
Yes, right.
It's kind of removing the genders in general, right? And I think like life doesn't perpetuate without gender, right? The plants, the animals, people, all of us, gender is just our nature. I mean, in chemistry, working with glassware, there's a male end and there's a female end, right? In electricity, there's a male end and a female end. It's like, it's everywhere. So cultivating that feminine nature is really a big part, and all will benefit from that.
Absolutely.
So
yay.
That it? I think that's great.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So much to learn, so much to know, and
Mhm.
find your community peeps, because there's people out there doing amazing things like Katharina. So thanks for tuning in, and be sure to connect with her and learn more about how to learn to love yourself. Thanks, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.